'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. Halloween, of course, is one of the best times of the year, when all things spooky are meant to bring fear. There's candy, ghosts, witches, and ghouls, but there is one holiday that can be even more cruel. It has trees all alight and fires burning bright, families gathering, laughing and smiling all through the night. But little do they know that deep within the snow, there's something quite haunting that they soon will come to know. Urban legends, folktales, some things most of us enjoy delving in, not necessarily something people would associate Christmas with. Yet, here you are, curious during this holiday season, curious of how there could be such dark and twisted things revolving around such a seemingly happy time. Take the word Christmas. What does it mean to you? What do you feel when you think about the word? Do you feel happy? Warm? Do you get the fuzzy wuzzies? Or do you feel sad? Forgotten? Hollow even? These are some of the feelings that a certain someone or something feeds on. Let me introduce you to Krampus, or in German, Krampen, meaning claw. He is someone who feeds off of those who do not believe in Christmas, those who do not have the Christmas spirit, those who have completely forgotten the meaning behind it. And if you are someone who is a non-believer, well, you're next on the list to be dragged down to the underworld if you refuse to atone for your lack of belief in Christmas and the meaning of it. Or if you're just a bad person in general. What was the reason behind Krampus's wrath? Was he just a person who had gone completely mad? Was he a sad man down on his luck who just couldn't bear to see everyone else happy except for him? Not quite. Why would he drag bad people to the underworld, of all places? Well, because he was born to the Norse goddess of the underworld, or the Queen of Helheim, Hel. That's H-E-L, not H-E double hockey stick. Hel was one of the children of the trickster god Loki. When you think of the word Hel, with a double L, most people imagine Satan. Yet in Norse mythology, Hel, with one L, is the one who reigns over the underworld. In Old English, we would typically refer to the underworld as Hel, H-E-L, or Hel, H-E-L-L-E. This referred to the same kind of Germanic pagan underworld as the Norse Hel. It can be confusing since the realm of the dead, where Hel resides, and Hel itself, where Satan lives, are seemingly similar, but these two concepts have nothing in common. Hel was typically depicted as a continuation of life. People lived their lives as they did on Earth, except in a more dark and cold place, which is why they think the underworld is located in the north. It's also guarded by a dog called Garm, who is literally the Hound of Hell, or Hellhound. It's believed that Krampus was and still is part of pagan rituals during the winter solstice. The winter solstice is where the sun is farthest south in the northern hemisphere on December 21 or 22, and then far north in the southern hemisphere during the summer on June 20 or 21. We will experience a day with the least daylight and the longest night, which gives Krampus more time to do his diddly deed. As Christianity was on the rise during the 1st and 2nd centuries, Krampus became a staple during Christmas time. The Catholic Church tried to put the work in and ban Krampus, but their attempts were evidently a failed effort. Be prepared for December 5th, because that is the day Krampus likes to make his appearance. This day is called Krampusnacht, or Krampus Night. During the night, good children will leave their shoes outside their door and receive delicious sweets and gifts from St. Nicholas. Krampus was nice enough to leave them alone, but if he came across a bad child, they'll either be lucky enough to receive a rod in their shoe as a warning, or not so lucky and get smacked around with some branches and sticks and end up downstairs with his mom. He may even try to devour you if he fancied you enough. I know, this is all kind of dark and depressing, but do not fret. There's some fun things involved if you haven't been sentenced to the 7 pits of hell. Krampuslauf, or Krampus Run, is an event that involves way too much alcohol and some tomfoolery. Sounds like my kind of Friday night. Or every night, actually. I wouldn't recommend any children to participate, by the way. You can dress up as Krampus, run around wild in the streets, scare people half to death, making Papa Krampus proud. So at least there's something from this horrid experience that'll bring us all together and get us in the Christmas spirit this season. Krampus came from folklore in Austria's Alpine region, yet he's made his mark in the US and Canada. But he's not the only shtick disturber. There are some side characters from other European countries as well. Many European countries have an evil equivalent to Santa, who are also known as anti-Santas. Let's learn about some of them. Let me introduce you to Le Père Fouettard, or Father Whipper. He follows around St. Nicholas during St. Nicholas's Day, which is December 6th. You would be lucky enough to get some coal from him for Christmas. Otherwise, you'll be unfortunate enough to end up on the receiving end of his cat-o'-nine-tails whip. He dresses all in black and has chains adorning him, which represent his incarceration. A Santa Claus incarcerated? How did he achieve that? Well, let me tell you without getting into too much detail. It was the year 1150. An innkeeper was doing his duty as he did every day, until he saw 3 young boys dressed quite handsomely, walking proudly down the street. Something in him had convinced him to approach these children, kidnap them, and bring them back home. As I said, I won't go into detail, but his poor wife and those children met a very sad fate. Next on the list is Frau Perchta, once a popular pagan goddess who was the peaceful bringer of light, or the complete opposite, a vengeful goddess who took the law into her own hands when people were being unreasonable. Christianity was rising in the ranks, which caused her entire existence to have a complete overhaul. She ended up punishing people who weren't taking part in religious celebrations or events. Once a workforce was established, she would punish people who refused to go above and beyond for their boss. Now, she's open for business during the holiday season and visits children during the 12 days of Christmas. If a child is good, she'll give them some money in their shoes. If they're bad, well, let's just say they'd end up looking like a makeshift scarecrow. Now, back to Krampus. He happens to be one of the most famous anti-Santas in the US. There are theories around his appearance, though. One of them being that he's a Christian interpretation of the Horned One, or Horned God in pagan beliefs. He's usually depicted as an anthropomorphic figure, which means having human characteristics. He's quite a hairy man with usually brown or black fur. His feet are cloven hooves and he has horns of a goat. He has fangs and he's got quite a long tongue, which I'm sure would be in the Guinness Book of World Records. He's half goat, half demon, and shares the features of creatures in Greek mythology. More notably fauns or satyrs. Fauns are bipedal creatures, meaning they stand on 2 legs. They've got horns, the tail of a goat and head, arms and torso of a human. They usually have pointed ears as well. Satyrs were known to be woodland spirits. They were wild and free and lived jubilantly in the forests. They sound like they'd be quite lovely to look at. Wrong. They were grotesque and unsightly. Their noses were flat and large, their ears were very pointy, and they had tiny horns that came out of their forehead. Their skin was rough, and they had small goat tails. You know, to be honest, it seems like whoever comes up with these legends really has a thing for goats. I'm just saying. One thing I don't think actual goats can do is carry around chains like Krampus did. which have some symbolism relating to the binding of the devil. The chains are only for dramatic effect though, so don't worry. Sometimes he'll carry a sack or a basket on his back, which are not for dramatic effect, just so you know, to make it easier to transport children to his hellish home. Regardless of an unusual adoration for goats, Krampus only became a lovable figure towards the end of the century. In the 50s, the government literally handed out flyers saying, "Krampus is an evil man." But he isn't even real, or technically a man, so why would they go to such lengths? Right? Toward the end of the century until now, he's been paraded and celebrated by many communities, whether it be for fun or goat reasons. I vote goat reasons. Despite the eerie backstory of Krampus, people make light of it by sending out Grav van Krampus. I definitely butchered that, but that means greetings from Krampus. These are cards which have Krampus depicted hovering over children while a funny sentiment is read by the receiver. Nowadays, Krampus is actually kind of cute. Not to me personally. For whatever reason, they've depicted him as Cupid, like a Cupid-like creature. So, goats and Cupid-like Krampuses running all around, you know what I'm talking about? But anyway, do you believe in some folklore? Urban legends? Have you ever encountered Krampus? Père Fouettard? An elf? Santa Claus? Let me know in the comments of any creepy sightings or experiences you've had during the holiday season, or let me know what your favorite folklores are. I'd really like to check them out. And with that, all the children were snug in their bed, with dreams of toys and tinsel dancing in their head. They waited excitedly for Christmas morning to come, yet things were not as exciting for some. What is the true meaning of Christmas? Is it family, tradition, or something rather malicious? Enjoy the time spent with family and friends, because you'll never know how your night. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, dislike, all the good things. Be a friend. Happy holidays.